She thought she was untouchably used to power, privilege, and always getting her way. But when she pulled out a stun gun and attacked a royal guard, expecting him to crumble, she made the biggest mistake of her life. What happened next left the entire crowd in stunned silence. This is the incredible story of how one woman's arrogance met the unshakable discipline of a royal guard. But before we dive in, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. Also, make sure to check out our second channel, Guard Patrol, linked in the pinned comments. We upload daily at the same time on both channels, so subscribe to both and never miss a powerful story like this one. The sharp click of designer heels echoed across the courtyard of Buckingham Palace as Victoria Blackwood strode through the gathering crowd of tourists. Her Armani suita, steel grey pencil skirt and matching blazer over a crisp white button-down spoke of corporate power. Her perfectly coiffed blonde hair and blood-red lipstick completed the image of executive sophistication she'd spent years cultivating. "Excuse me," she commanded rather than requested, her voice carrying the practiced authority of someone used to making CEOs jump at her beck and call. "Some of us have actual business to conduct." She shouldered past the family trying to take photos, her designer briefcase swinging dangerously close to a child's head. The morning sun caught her diamond tennis bracelet as she checked her Swiss watch, a gift from her boss that she made sure everyone knew about. As the executive assistant to Marcus Sterling, CEO of Sterling International, Victoria had grown accustomed to a certain level of deference. Doors opened for her, people stepped aside, and the world generally reorganized itself to accommodate her presence. "This is ridiculous," she muttered, loud enough for nearby tourists to hear. "Don't these people have jobs, or do they just spend all day gawking at buildings?" Her perfectly manicured nails drummed against her briefcase, a nervous habit that betrayed the constant tension thrumming beneath her polished exterior. A young mother pulling her children out of Victoria's path earned a particularly venomous glare. "Control your offspring," Victoria snapped, smoothing her skirt with practiced precision. "This isn't a playground." The mother's apologetic smile only seemed to irritate her further, as if basic human courtesy was an affront to her elevated status. Victoria had just rounded the corner of the palace grounds when she first spotted him, royal guard standing at attention. His scarlet uniform was a stark contrast to the ancient stones behind him. Something about his posture, his unwavering discipline, seemed to catch her attention. Perhaps it was the way he stood there, completely unbothered by the chaos around him. Or perhaps it was the fact that, for the first time that morning, she'd encountered something that didn't immediately acknowledge her presence. Her eyes narrowed as she took in his ceremonial uniform, the gleaming brass buttons, the towering bearskin cap. A small smile played at the corners of her perfectly painted lips, the kind of smile that had preceded the dismissal of countless subordinates who'd failed to show her proper respect. "Well," she said softly, adjusting her blazer with deliberate precision, "this should be interesting." The morning sun cast her shadow across the courtyard stones as she began moving toward the guard, her heels striking the ground with the rhythm of approaching thunder. She paused a few feet from the guard, her head tilted in calculated assessment. "I saw that," she announced suddenly, her voice sharp enough to make nearby visitors turn. "Don't pretend you weren't looking." The guard remained motionless, his eyes fixed forward with practiced discipline. Victoria's perfectly plucked eyebrows drew together, unused to being ignored despecially by someone she considered beneath her station. "Excuse me." She stepped closer, deliberately entering his line of sight. "I'm speaking to you. I saw you watching me when I walked past." The accusation hung in the air, as false as her designer eyelashes, but wielded with the same precision she used to destroy careers back at Sterling International. An elderly couple nearby exchanged concerned glances. The woman whispered something to her husband, who shook his head slowly, his stance suggesting a military background. But Victoria was too focused on her target to notice the growing discomfort around her. "This is exactly the kind of unprofessional behavior I've come to expect from ceremonial staff," she continued, her voice rising with practiced indignation. "Standing here, ogling women as they pass by, thinking your uniform gives you some kind of immunity." Each word was carefully chosen, shaped by years of crafting complaints that could end careers. The guard's composure remained unshaken, his bearing perfect despite her accusations. This only seemed to fuel Victoria's mounting irritation. "Do you have any idea who I am?" She stepped even closer, her expensive perfume invading the space between them. "I am the executive assistant to Marcus Sterling himself. One word from me, and your superiors will be explaining themselves to people who actually matter in this city." The morning sun had climbed higher, catching the brass buttons on the guard's uniform. Their gleam seemed to mock Victoria's attempts at intimidation, reflecting back only her own increasingly frustrated expression. Victoria's hand dipped into her designer briefcase, retrieving a small leather case. Her fingers traced the edge of the case, something dangerous glinting in her eyes. "One last chance, soldier," she said, her voice dropping to a deadly calm. "Acknowledge me, apologize for your behavior, and we can end this professionally." The guard's silence felt like a physical thing now, a wall of discipline that her words couldn't penetrate. Victoria's hand tightened on the leather case, her knuckles whitening with barely contained fury. "Very well," she said, her voice dropping to a whisper. "Let's see how well your famous discipline holds up under real pressure." Her manicured fingers opened the case, revealing the metallic gleam of a stun gun. Victoria struck without warning, pressing the stun gun against the guard's uniform. The weapon hummed with malicious energy, delivering thousands of volts through his body. But instead of crumpling to the ground, the guard's body tensed. His jaw clenched and his muscles contracted, but his feet remained planted firmly on the stones of the courtyard. Kia, with a control that defied both the electricity coursing through his body and normal human limitations. The guard's white-gloved hand shot out like a striking cobra. His fingers found Victoria's wrist with unerring precision, catching it in a grip forged by years of close-quarters combat training. The stun gun clattered to the ground, its arc of electricity dying with a final angry spark. Victoria's eyes widened in disbelief, her perfect makeup unable to hide the shock that drained all color from her face. Palace security rushed in, forming a cordon around the scene. The guard's grip wasn't cruel or punishing, but it was as immovable as the palace itself. "You just assaulted a member of His Majesty's Armed Forces," one of the security officers announced, producing handcuffs. "Carrying a prohibited weapon on palace grounds, assaulting a uniformed serviceman. The charges will be severe." Victoria's threats and accusations grew fainter as she was led away, her carefully constructed world of borrowed authority crumbling with each step. "What do you think about this confrontation between entitlement and duty? Have you witnessed similar moments where borrowed authority crumbled in the face of genuine strength? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you believe in standing firm against disrespect, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more powerful stories about the royal guards who serve as living symbols of dignity and duty. Don't forget to hit that bell icon to never miss our daily uploads. Check out our previous videos appearing on your screen right now. And stay tuned for our next story about another encounter that proves respect isn't just given, it's earned through unwavering dedication to duty.